Okay.
I'm not worried if you have to like fix it because you would never.
Can I kill these lights?
Yeah.
You know, we've got kind of the traditional, the Times Square model, the in-your-face advertising, marketing. This is kind of what we're used to. Very common themes there. Interruption, grabbing your attention. You know, you were doing something else, and now we're trying to gain that attention. Broadcasting of messages, kind of this one-to-one, or I guess one-to-many, and you can't really interact back with it. It's interesting to see Times Square even change now. We have a client, the new school on Fifth Ave. These tools exist, and probably 90% of these don't exist anymore. There's a lot out there and a lot competing, and so you know, marketing has certainly become a lot broader in its scope. It's not just make this print piece, send it out, and we're done. There are a lot more tools and tactics, but also with that, communication has become a lot more personalized in the efforts that we can, or at least it should or could be. Ignore you. I always value any connection. If I can put something into your Facebook feed and be, again, between mom and your best friend, that's a really coveted place to be, right? And as soon as I'm irrelevant, as soon as my content doesn't matter to you, as soon as I post too much and annoy you, you're going to unlike me, you're going to unfollow me, you're going to unfriend me, whatever the platform is, and there's a really good chance you're never going to get that connection back, because they're going to remember kind of how you treated them, basically. And so is there's really low to no barrier to entry. I could say right now, hey, go start a Facebook page, and you could go do that within 5 minutes, right? Media is not, you know, it's obviously not a quick fix. As if you're involved in efforts, you're probably realizing that there's a bit of a process and a time to getting some of this going and making it effective. It's not the end of print and email. A microsite we just finished up, 70% of traffic to the site was from email. Less than 1% was print. They spent $15,000 on a postcard. I spent $1,900 maybe on the email, total emails that went out, you know, and just so they work together. They don't work against or cannibalize each other. You know, again, not based on interruption, and certainly not the only way. What it is, we talked about probably that first tool tools of what you can do. Extremely unfiltered, very much a time commitment, very much a supplement to your strategy. It's not going to replace what you're doing with marketing efforts or communication, whether you're internal or external. And it's also where your audience is a lot of the time. So just keeping that in mind that, again, a lot of people, students especially, so I think really at the end of the day, social media doesn't matter, people matter, right? Seth Godin had a really good blog post, April 2012-ish, and in it he said, nowadays we need a social media strategy, we need a mobile strategy. Can you invest or focus the time needed to do this? I was just talking to John over at IU East. He works in the marketing communication, and Rob, who's his boss, gave him the Google model for the summer. So at Google. Again, stop me if you have any questions. A lot of screenshots in here, and then I'm also going to hop to the computer for one example just to show you that. I think the first thing is always just to stop. Stop where you're at, before you jump into the water. Kind of evaluate what are you doing. Think about what's your target audience. What are your goals and objectives with what you're trying to do? What resources do you have, whether that's time, budget, student workers, what your resources are, what can you do to leverage them, and then kind of let that guide your strategy. There's a really good Charlene Lee and can't remember the other guy's name, but they wrote it, and this is the model they used for strategy within that book, and it's just called the POST method: people, objectives, strategy, and then tools or technology. Technology doesn't fit here, so I shortened it to tools. But again, thinking people first. Who's your audience? Who are they? What do they? Just a reminder, don't chase the tools, chase the goals. Be focused on your goals and what you want to do there. We kind of went through a period of probably 2010 to 2012 where there was not a single admissions client that I was recommending Twitter to, just for the amount of time. about 6 or 7% of students wrote text message as a write-in answer. The next year, the students said that. So then we were like, okay, we need to figure that piece out. If students are looking to us for that as an option for getting, deadlines, information, what they need to know, then let's chase that goal and figure out which tool to use from there. So just some engagement tips. My this is not working. All right, just use that then. Some thoughts on how to succeed on the web, and we'll talk about a few of these just through the tips and tricks. I don't know where to start. This is a roadmap, I guess. We've talked about focusing on people versus technology, which kind of goes along with this be human piece. Just every interaction is face to face. Anytime I'm dealing with a student, customer service, whatever it is, a question on the web, pretend that they're standing right there. I constantly see somebody comes and says, I have this question, and you give them a link like .edu/apply or /admissions. It's like they were probably already there and couldn't find the information. That's why they're coming to Facebook, to try and get a real answer. And when you do that, when you just give them a link with no response, to me that's like if somebody walks into my office and says, hey, I want to know more about your school, and I hand them a view book and turn around and just get back to work. If they were in the office, you would take the time to talk with them. What are you looking for? What are you interested in? And kind of cultivate that relationship from there, build the relationships. I think this is one we miss out on a lot. Listen, we'll talk about that in a bit. Tracking metrics obviously is important. There's a variety of ways you can do that based on what platform you're using, what tools. Knowing your audience, obviously very important. And then I think, again, one that we miss out or forget about a lot is just providing value in general. Giving information, giving content that is of relevance, that is of interest to our audience. So we talked last week about this 50-25-25 model. Was anyone not here last time? Okay, so you can get the slides through Eric, but 50-25-25, just to recap, we use that on social platforms as a ratio of what our content should look like. So 50% of content we just call informational. These are the news, press releases, events, upcoming things, pretty generic content. Then from there we go 25%, we call that conversational about your brand. So that's when you're still talking about yourself, but you're interacting the audience with that. I think we looked at the example maybe with student employment who had talked about using colored highlighters. We said, adding that conversational piece might be, what's your favorite color of highlighter? Or what highlighter, what color do you use? And then conversational on your platform, 25% of content. Really, you're not talking about yourself. You might be talking about industry news, other items of interest. You might be talking about Pacers versus Heat Game 7, something like that. Just something to get people to interact with you. And kind of the goal through all of these is that as they're in the classroom, as they're doing homework, as they're sitting in the cubicle, whatever it is, they weren't thinking about you at that moment, but now they are thinking about you. And so it's just, again, we're trying not to interrupt, we're trying to provide value, but we're also just reminding them that we exist. Then just kind of this thought on engagement. We can talk about engagement strategy all day, but really to me there are two types. There is proactive engagement. Sorry this happened to you, here's how I'm going to fix it. And then there's the reactive engagement where you're ready, you're anticipating, you're looking for those opportunities. We had a situation with a client where we live streamed their kind of beginning of the year ceremony, and it was a school in Texas. So every year for over 100 years at the end of this huge American flag drops. So they had made the decision to not drop the flag this year. They were going to save it for like a Veterans Day event later in the year. We were live streaming, there are people all across the world, alumni watching, and when that flag didn't drop, when they headed into the ending song from there, the Facebook page, everything, Twitter just like blew up, like furious alumni. So we were very reactive in that situation. We were scrambling to, get a press release out and explain why this happened and blah, blah, blah. Proactive would have been that we anticipate that and we're ready for it. And maybe we're even mentioning that before the event starts, like, hey, just so you know, the flag's not going to drop. Sorry, Texas. And kind of move on from there. Does anyone know who that is? Ansel Adams. Yep. So kind of a really renowned photographer. I mean, his work is just amazing, and it's interesting when you look a lot of the techniques and the styles, and you look at the equipment that he had compared to the equipment we have now. D700, $3,000. GPS tag your photos, whatever. There are websites devoted to marking the exact GPS coordinates of where he took photos, using stuff like Farmer's Almanac, historical data, historical weather trends to try and simulate the pattern and what the weather might have looked like for people to try to recreate some of the photos he took. And it's crazy, but at the end of the day, he just did it, right? And so he didn't have the equipment that we have nowadays. We have so much more technology and all this. And I think it's interesting when you look back to something like photography and just think, he was kind of approaching it from a very simple standpoint. Like, I have a camera and I have film and I have an eye for it. And I think, one way we've tried to apply this to the social web is particular, he did a lot of work with trees. And I kind of look at the social web as the tree, right? Because a tree doesn't live, a tree doesn't function without each part. You need the roots, you need the bark, you need photosynthesis, the outside sources, all that. And I think, again, approaching the social web as kind of this tree of marketing that your platform, your foundation, your roots, that's your .edu website, right? You have to have that. That's where transactions happen. That's where you're typically sending people back to, whether it's through news or to apply or to sign up for an open house, get more information. That's kind of all happening there. But, you've got all these other branches, right? And that, again, could be your Facebook page, could be your e-newsletter, could be Facebook ads you're running, whatever it is. And it's kind of all feeding in together, but filtering back to that base. And so maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. You need a different analogy, but that's kind of how I've always processed or thought of the social web. So getting to Facebook specific, I think one quick tip is just securing your vanity URL. So everyone know what that is? So facebook.com/bluefuego, facebook.com/IUPUI. Getting a condensed, shortened version of your page URL so that it's easier for you to promote, easier for you to include in emails, to push out to people. And how you do that is going to facebook.com/username. So if your personal page has not been set, they will typically ask you to do that first. And then after you do that, there will be a drop down of pages that you're an administrator for. And you can just choose from there and then set your username. You can only change a page's name once. So be very careful about what you're naming it as, think about it. But yeah, I think every page, it's an option. You should definitely take them up on it and have that. Next one is just using the BlueFuego formula, which we talked about last week. It was this formula for measuring engagement on your Facebook page, where we take likes, comments, and shares divided by the number of fans to get an average engagement. So if you have 1,000 fans and your post has 6 likes, 3 comments, and a share, 10 divided by 1,000, 1%. And we talked about that benchmark last week, try to be in that 0.3, 0.4 range per post. But this is basically looking at one post. So I just want to show you what it might look like if you're looking back at an entire month of data, which is how we track. We do month-to-month averages. So if you had 12 posts in a month, and across those you added up all your interactions, and you have 72 likes, 9 comments, and 2 shares, and at the end of the month you have 900 fans on your page. So we're going to add up again likes, comments, and shares. So 72 plus 9 plus 2 is 83 total interactions. But then I need to figure out how many interactions am I having per post, because that's the number I need to divide by fans. So a lot of people will take the 83 divided by 900 and be like, hey, 9%, we're awesome. That guy said 0.4, we're killing it. So take your 83 divided by your 12 posts, and that's going to give you 6.91 interactions per post. So then we take that divided by your number of fans, which is, kind of this step, and then that would give you a 0.76 engagement. So that's, again, just kind of how you do a monthly breakdown on the Blue Fuego formula. I think it's also important just keeping up to date with changes from the end of this series. Some links I kind of look at and rely on: facebook.com/blog, straight from the horse's mouth. Usually a little bit behind though. Some of these other sites will have information before they do publicly. InsideFacebook.com and AllFacebook.com are very much just go-to blogs, go-to resources for learning what's changing, what's happening. Kind of depending on your usage, if you're doing like custom iframes and tabs and that sort of thing on your page, that's constantly changing. Facebook actually used to have their own coding language. So if you're familiar with like HTML to write code for websites, they created FBML, Facebook Markup Language. They're like, hey, we're gonna have our own language. And it like daily changed. And we were just constantly fixing stuff, changing stuff. And then maybe 2 years ago, they said, hey, on this date, we're getting rid of FBML. You're no longer gonna use it. You'll use HTML and make an iframe. So through these, we knew that was coming so that we could make those changes as needed. It was no surprise to us. The recent change is that they're taking, all that advertising stuff we've talked about, and they're shrinking it to like a handful of options. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff if you Google right now around that. A lot of conversations on how that's going to impact. I think another thing, going back to that question of can you commit, putting in the time answering questions. So these are just a few screenshots. First looking at Boston University. So this is just like a generic admissions class of type page. I'm sure they said you'll hear from us about your admission decision by the end of March. So Justin on June 21st is saying, hey, when is the end of March? Like, can you be a little more specific? Will admissions decisions be posted via email, mail, website link? When is your admission application deadline? Is it easier if I get applied? Blah, blah, blah. If I apply to your school, is it too late to apply? All these questions coming in. So do they put additional resource to this? No. Do they get some students involved and help them answer questions? No. Here's what they decided to do. The wall is temporarily closed for fan posts until the end of April. But they didn't actually close it. They just said that, and it's still open for people to post. If you have a question, please contact us by email, by phone, or visit our website. I sent you an email but got no answer. Like, you're telling them to go to other channels where they're still not getting a response. And where I think this is all really bad is if you look at Ann up here, when the year that this happened, she said, I love the fan page, especially the pictures. As a high school junior, it's helpful to see questions that are being asked. Ta-da, questions being asked. So I can start thinking ahead. Hope to be checking you out more in the future as the time for college approaches. So, Ann next fall is going to go and, hey, I have a question. Crickets, So putting in time, if you're going to offer it, be sure that you're ready. And, you might never see this amount of questions come in because you're not admissions, but every question matters, every interaction matters. Also, adding a like button to your site. So this is kind of more of that social web call out that we talked about in week one. So the Jag Jobs, they've got the buttons here. The other option is the actual like button, which looks like this. So rather than having to click and go to your Facebook page and then like it, you're allowing that action to happen directly here. There's the like button in the like box. So you see on East's website, so this is the like box, so it's showing me friends of mine who are fans of the page. And so that's kind of what's happening here as well. It's telling me that Eric and 390 other people like, which one are we on? Career? Yeah. So again, I like this better because you can take the action directly on the page. You're not requiring me to go out to a separate to Facebook, because really once they go to Facebook, you've lost them, right? Yeah. So here, they click like, they're done, and now they're in the content. And kind of just through the audit, what we saw is that with the just couple of pages who are doing this, their page like numbers are significantly above other departments who are not doing that. So again, just a nice, easy way to allow that to happen. I think another one on Facebook is showing your content and your fan content, meaning people who are posting to your page. Just show it all. It's really a lot easier for you as an administrator, because when you go to your page, you can see what's new. It's not hidden kind of behind that filter of show other content. And how you make that happen, if you go into your settings, there's this here, post visibility, and then default visibility. So you're going to click show the box for recent posts by others, and then default visibility of posts by others you're going to allow on page, not hidden on page. That's a setting that just, again, sometimes it's there. And I think another one is when it makes sense, they call it gating your posts, kind of locking it into a certain area or a certain type of person to look at it. This used to be just an option directly on the page, and it disappeared, and we thought they got rid of it, but they've actually pulled it out now and made it a setting. So if you go into those same settings, you're going to go to post privacy gating, and then you have to click allow me to control the privacy of posts I make on a page. And after you do that, now when you come into post, this button's going to be here that says public, and you can do that, and you can drop down and target by location or language. And so then this box shows up, make visible to users with, and you can narrow in to Indianapolis, for example. So if you're talking to primarily an on-campus audience, this might not be as valuable to you unless you have something like, don't forget about the bake sale tonight at 5. And we talked about that's not usually good content because a large percentage of your fans might be alumni, might be online students, might be commuters, might not be in this area. So this could be an option to filter in an event type of post. But if you're kind of more on the admissions or recruitment side, if you're doing events in Kokomo or Fort Wayne or wherever and you want to target in, that can be another way to do that. And then I'm going to hop over real quick here. So the last Facebook tip, so let's say for example we're posting this news story to our page. If you want to talk about the shoemaker's son getting the last pair, I've updated our Facebook page last on March 21st, which is nearly 3 months. So when you put in your link, and I briefly touched on this last week, we just kind of wanted to visually see it. After you put the link in, you can now delete that link out of the text. So that's step one. I don't need that there anymore. Makes your post just look a little cleaner. Step two, I can change the photo. That's terrific. So we'll leave it here. Then step three is, if you see me hover over these are actually editable. And a lot of people don't touch that, don't think about it, don't acknowledge it. So when you click on it, now you can change it. So I could say, something like that, just kind of shorten it. You can see the fewer characters you have, the bigger that font's going to be, the more bold. And then same thing here. Maybe you're posting a link of an alum who is quoted in a news story. Pull that link out and make that the little piece or something that they said. And so yeah, same thing here. I click, I can edit. So maybe you just even want to shorten this. Ooh, missed a space there. So kind of get the idea, but just it's a quick, simple step, but I see a lot of people miss it and not think about it. It's just going to make your content look cleaner and more appealing within the newsfeed. So we're just calling that use the editable fields. Any questions right now? Okay. Hopping to YouTube. Again, I briefly mentioned this last week, but just to kind of pull it out as a tip and trick, always make your first 3 video tags the same. That's going to help with those related videos we talked about. That's going to help with just SEO, with people finding your videos, getting to them, and it's just a very simple step, something easy to do. The next one is you can actually link to a specific time frame in a video. So this is also helpful if you're trying to, there was a conference, that conference happened, and then, we put the hour video up, but you really just want to talk about like the piece at 43 minutes. It used to be we had to do kind of special coding to the link where we were adding this manually. YouTube has realized that people are interested in doing this. And so now when you go to a video and click share right here, it's going to give you the link. And then it also now provides this checkbox at the end. So it will either automatically put in the number based on where you're at currently in the video, or you can type a new number in and it's going to provide that new link. So here, IUPUI University Place Conversion Update. If this is the video we wanted to post out, but it's 18 minutes long, and your audience really only cares about what happens at the 7.5 minute mark, you can go to there, click this button, get the link, and then anyone who clicks this link, the video will start at 7 minutes and 34 seconds. So it's nice. And then I think just kind of a tip, I guess, rather than a trick on YouTube. It's really huge. 75% of users are outside the U.S. There are 1 billion videos watched daily. There's 100 hours of video on YouTube uploaded every minute, which is kind of just mind-blowing to think about. And then they consider 70% or more of content to be amateur, meaning just, I pull out my phone and I shot it and it's good. So, again, those are all pretty crazy stats, but depending on your audience, it's good just to know this, because I think what a lot of people do, they'll put a video out and get 200 views and be like, that's not that much, Gangnam Style got 100 million or whatever. But if your audience is 500 people, then 200 is really good. And so kind of keeping those numbers in perspective, that not every video you put out is going to get thousands of views. But if it gets views with the people who matter, then it was a success. And then one other little piece on YouTube, is anyone familiar with annotations? No? So, it might be better for me to show this. I'm going to turn this way so I don't break my neck again. I have my go-to annotation video, Dude Perfect, world's longest basketball shot. Has anyone seen it? So you can see this is an annotation, this is an annotation. Basically, we're overlaying links and text onto YouTube videos. You've probably seen it. So then these are annotations at the end where I say, I want to see the full screen view, the field view. So when I click that, it takes me to the field view video. These guys are unreal. They've written a book now. They've done Southwest Airlines advertisements, and so as I click on these, you can see it kind of takes me to a place. So some stuff I've seen done. If you're from my generation, you remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books. They saw a school do a Choose Your Own Adventure tour of now you're at the library. Where do you want to go next? And you pick, and based on that, it shows you the next video. One that we've been working on. We've got a handful of videos just around transfer students using CATS. I'm going to show you your transfer credit report, next steps. So when you get to the end of the video, this is just like a JPEG image. It's actually a PowerPoint slide that we exported. And then at the end of the video, inside of YouTube, we'll lay annotations over each of those 3 buttons. So after you watch the first button, you're like, what's CATS? Or I've heard about it. So I click that, and it will just load the CATS video and play it for me. So it's kind of a nice way to get people in that content loop with you, that if there's something related, you can just put it, and it doesn't have to be this fancy. You can just do like the guys did when they were trying to sell their iPhone app, just lay it over. So does anyone want to see actually how it works? Would that be helpful? Okay, I'll do that. So if we go to youtube.com/editor, that's one way to get to it. The other way is just see that little button? That's probably the simplest way to get to it. So if you're on a video that you've uploaded and that you own, you can click annotations. So when I click that, it's going to bring me into the annotation editor. So I can add annotation, which is speech bubble, note, title, spotlight, or label. And then depending on those, you're going to get some options. So if I have this, which says watch more time lapses. It's really big. So I think it's designed to be huge. Title, I guess that makes sense. And then you see I can kind of click and drag that around, change font color, whatever it is. And then I also determine where it starts and where it ends. So if I want to go like maybe to 15 seconds, then I'll do that and it'll be there. So your primary ones are going to be note. So when you do a note, you have to click a lot until you kind of find it. So I'm actually going to delete that and go to this other one. So then I do this link at the bottom, and then I can paste a link to a video, to a playlist, to a channel, to subscribe, or to fundraising project, which I've never messed with. So if I then had a link to a playlist, yay. Oops, sorry, there was. So if this is my link, I'd copy that, I would paste it here, and then I can say open a new window or not. So then when you watch that video from 2 to 7 seconds, that would pop up. So it's all pretty straightforward. Another one, while we're on YouTube, youtube.com/editor is actually a web-based editor. So if you had like a couple links that you wanted to put it together, looking for some shorter stuff. So, I could drag this in. I don't know what that is, but drag it in. And you can see I can kind of crop here, I can shorten, I can drag audio in, which if I go to this audio tab, this is all royalty-free music, approved to use. So if I wanted something travel, it's gonna look, based on those. I can go genre. So quite a bit in there. You can do transitions, fades. It's not, Adobe Premiere, but if you've got some quick stuff to do, you can usually do that. And you can actually also click to upload your own video. Like I can just record it straight from here and add it in. So that's a nice feature as well.
Would you recommend this over Windows Movie Maker?
If you have familiarity with it and know how to use it and then export like a decent copy to put on YouTube, then it's probably better because you can save the files. This, if I go to a different computer, it's not going to be there because it's on that computer. So yeah, it can be good for just quick in a pinch stuff, but probably, if you're going to be doing a lot of editing, might not be the best option. Another one is just modifying the thumbnails on your video uploads. What we see a lot is that people will click on a video to watch it just based on the thumbnail. Early, people got really smart and realized that YouTube pulls a thumbnail from the exact middle of the video. and they would like flash a picture of a girl in a bikini. It was like there for a microsecond, but like that was the thumbnail. And so obviously not universities, but YouTube has kind of realized that that's important to people to be able to choose your thumbnail. So now when you go to a video, you can choose one of those three, which with the time lapse, it's not that great because it's like a stationary camera. But it will show you beginning, middle, end, and then if none of those suit you, you can actually upload a custom thumbnail. So you can choose what people will see when they're sitting in this default not yet played mode. Keeping content short obviously is great. 90 seconds is really good, 2 minutes, anything below 3 minutes. Now obviously you're going to have academic content that maybe is that lecture or that presentation, and it's going to be long, and there's really no way around that, and you need a place to host it, so YouTube is good. But with these videos, we could have had one video that was 5 to 6 minutes long and said, here's next steps. Now we're going to talk about your transfer credit report. Now we're going to talk about using CATs. Now we're going to talk about this. But instead we decided to break them up into, I think none of them are longer than 90 seconds. And so, through that, people will watch them. People, if they're interested in going to more, they will do that. Because if somebody really just wanted to know how to use CATs, but that's minute 5 to 6 of my video, they're probably never going to get there. And so, and then just keeping quality high. This is the top end of the spectrum, your 1080p video. I think people have really come to expect to be able to watch content, and that, when flip cameras came out, they were like 720p, and everybody's like, oh, that's good enough. But then HD, full HD came along, and I think our audience really does expect HD video. So when embedding, just make sure you're using your best quality. There's typically an option as you pull your embed code to take the video and put it on the website, and it will say, do you want to use HD? Just make sure you're clicking that. I think everybody's phones and computers at this point are fast enough to handle it, so just a good practice. Then just looking at a couple on the Twitter side. First, just checking out available tools. There are a lot out there. We've talked about Bitly, which is that URL shortener that provides analytics. Twitter Counter just kind of gives you general trends on your growth as an account. How many people are following you. They'll actually send you emails and say, this many people followed you this week, or this many people unfollowed you. Based on that, here's what we think of like your growth trend. TweetDeck is real nice. It's a desktop application that you can put in search terms, and anytime notifications come in, it'll give you a little Twitter chirp. And there are some others, TweetBeep, TweetAlarm. They're a little more antiquated. They aren't as popular as they used to be, but you can put in search terms and they'll actually just email you when something happens. So if email is more of your style. TweetDeck, I used it for a while, but I had to delete it. It was just too much. Just that constant notification and ding ruined my workflow. So I shifted to other items that work better for me. I think another one is just search.twitter.com. And if you're not familiar with that, it's based, you can search anything that's public on Twitter. But probably the biggest piece that everyone misses is that box right there. It says use operators for advanced search. Operators are little modifiers that you can add into your search string that will filter results accordingly. So if you go into advanced search, it will actually, rather than having to type in modifiers, it will just give you boxes like, what terms do you want? What terms do you not want? Is there a specific area you want these from? So just as an example, this is a search for IUPUI minus basketball, minus golf, minus sports, minus athletics, minus coach near Indianapolis within 15 miles. So I kind of started at IUPUI and realized, oh, there's a lot of basketball stuff in here. I don't care about that. So I take it out. Oh, everybody's talking about golf, sports, coach, whatever it is. You can add as many as you want. And then I also say, maybe I'm only interested in current students. So anyone more than 15 miles away from Indianapolis might not be in my target. And I don't care about the person in California who's talking about something on campus. And so these are all, again, just search modifiers called operators. And you can see even through that, I'm still getting a lot. Like Miami Heat, it doesn't say basketball, You know, this guy visiting campus. You know, it's not foolproof, but just by doing that, probably took 50 to 100 tweets. And so it's really, at that point, we're just looking at like, how do we filter out some of the noise and make our search more relevant so that we can do something with it. And then just using Twitter lists. Is anyone familiar with Twitter lists? No? Yes and no? Okay, we'll go to them real quick. Where's my mouse? There we go. So, so on your page, on your account, you're going to see lists down the side. So this was just an example I was showing where as students were saying, I've been admitted, I've been accepted, just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to put you in a private list. So I'm not following you back. You have no notification or knowledge that you've been added to this list. But if I want to, I can go here, click in, and this list is going to be the updates of just those people. And so a couple interesting ways I've seen lists used. One is on the alumni side, anybody who's graduated, that you kind of throw them in an alum list for your area, and you can kind of check back in, see what they're up to, or maybe just people who commonly interact with you. If you're trying to kind of keep that conversation going, you can have a list for them. But also just around this, that if there's any area or any topic of interest of people, community, thought leaders, that sort of thing, industry people, that you just want a quick place to go on Twitter and see, you know, what are these 12 people talking about, and is there maybe a piece of content or a link that's been shared there that I can use elsewhere? Lists are a really nice way to do that. And you can see I pretty much keep mine private, because if it's private, Jerry Seinfeld, I go here, add to a list, and Jerry Seinfeld will not know that he's in that list because it's private. So if I am on a list, I can actually come here and see what am I a member of. And so it's kind of nice from your account perspective. You can sort of see, like, what do people look at me for? What kind of content? For SPIA, you know, if you're on a bunch of environmentalists or green studies, whatever it is, and you kind of see that, it's a nice trend, and it's also a good area of people to follow back, because if they're listing you, they care enough about your content, they might, again, somebody there to find. So you can see most people look to me for higher ed marketing. Pretty much I'm always, I guess, it's sort of what I do. So. And then just a couple more slides. I think that last part to wrap this up here. Did we lose it? I'm good on there. Switch back over. Basically, it's making sure you're listening on Twitter. I have a couple screenshots of, I got accepted to Drexel. Drexel responds. Saw you got accepted. Congratulations. Let me know if you have any questions. But don't be choosy. Probably need to respond to everything. Here's one they didn't respond to. Pretty sure Drexel never received my transcript I sent forever ago. Filter, whatever. So, if again you're going to be there, you need to be involved in the good and the bad of the conversation. Just another one. I've been on hold with UNC admissions department for 30 minutes. If I want my life be so difficult. So that's kind of one where it's like, quickly tweet and say, here's my direct line, give me a call, and then delete that tweet so your number's not there, but just some way to reach out to them. It was funny, there was a girl in the Philippines one time who was calling one of my clients at noon every day for financial aid stuff, and was so frustrated that no one ever answered the phone. So she tweeted about it, of course. And so our response was like, Hey, just a reminder, your noon is our midnight, so probably better to email us or, something. But just kind of that mindset that people don't always necessarily remember, where you're at. So, those are kind of just some tips and tricks, and hope there are a few things in there that you can take and apply. But are there any questions as we wrap up this, or Eric, do you have any final thoughts? Any questions? Nope. All right. Well, we'll get the slides posted in the archive, and
They're up
thanks.
already, actually.
Oh, perfect. So, thanks for those of you who have come today and have come to previous sessions. I appreciate the opportunity to share some knowledge, and hopefully it'll help you do what you do better.
No questions? Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks.
All three of these sessions are available at uc.iupui.edu/social. We'll probably come up with a new website for the new stuff that we'll be having too. So we hope to see you guys in the future as well. Thank you.
Oh, great. I'm like, go ahead. Okay.